And we're back with this week's edition of Two Coaches, One Grizz. We're going to jump right into it with the recap of Week 5 in the NFL. Before, I have to ask my esteemed colleagues here, how are we doing today, gentlemen? Coach?
Sir, blessed to be above ground another day. I'm always thankful that the Lord allows me to open up my eyes in the morning, as much as I want to go back to sleep.
Amen.
But He allows me to open my eyes.
Grizz, how are we doing?
I'm doing great. As always, this point in the NFL season, it's we're at the quarter point. Sometimes you're feeling good about your team, sometimes you're not. This is more of a I feel better about my fantasy than reality kind of week, if you know what I mean. But other than that, fantastic football. It's always around the corner. Let's get it.
We're going to jump right in here. Speaking about my team in reality, the Giants pulling one off. Upset of the week, some would say, right? In the UK, first game of Week 5, and they pull off the upset against the Green Bay Packers. Giants are now 4-1. Who would have thunk it at this point in the season that they'd be second place in the division, but rolling downhill, man. Light receiving core, and all Brian Dable said was, "Oh, we ain't got any receivers. Let's put it on Saquon's back." A little bit, sprinkle in a little Daniel Jones there, but it was what a comeback. 17 points unanswered in the second half, and they pull one out against Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. Gentlemen, what are your thoughts on this right off the hit?
No, I first of all, it's what a huge difference Brian Dable has made to that team, to that franchise. I think, as we talked, I think before the season started, that he was going to be a game changer there. I think he proved himself in Alabama, proved himself in Buffalo, and now with the Giants, he's using the weapons that he has. They're figuring out if Daniel Jones is the guy or not. Because as much as they put it on Saquon, they are allowing Daniel Jones to do certain things, to work, to see if he is the quarterback that they're going to keep going down the road. Because if not, then he'll have to draft one or pick one up along the way.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's easy for me. The coach, better upgrade, but you got Barkley. A hurt Barkley, not so good. But a Barkley that leads the league in rushing, I mean, he had a game, only 70 yards, but crucial 70 yards, a 40-yard run, a touchdown at the end. Daniel Jones was steady. He did not make any mistakes. He battled against the two-time defending MVP, and they shut him out in the second half. I was shocked.
He came out of the game hurt. He was hurt for a while.
He did. And he was a gamer.
It concerned me deeply.
Yeah,
I was deeply concerned with that injury.
Well, everybody that gets out of these games nowadays, you got to be careful if they're coming back now. But he came back, and I got to give props. The Giants are really good. I think they're really good, especially that defense at the end, those batted balls, amazing.
Listen,
amazing.
It is a fight that we haven't seen in 8 or so seasons here since about 2015, 2016, since their last playoff game against the Steelers where they laid an egg. It was right after that Miami trip that they had with with that receiving core. Listen, they're completely surprised at what they've been able to do. Coaching, like we've said, it makes a huge, massive difference, and there is no mistake in saying, right, Brian Dable was the offensive coordinator who developed the quarterback in Buffalo the right way. They didn't put anything on his shoulders until he was ready for it, and you see the same thing that's happening, right, with with Daniel Jones, okay, in New York, right? He's been sputtering the last few seasons. In comes a new head coach, okay, and they put him in a system where he can thrive in and play to his strengths and not fit a square peg into a round hole, okay? Above all else, though, you see a fight that they haven't had. Like I said earlier, fight that they haven't had in 5 or 6 seasons, which is good to see. Now, there may be a regression to the mean as the season wears on, but it's nice to see that they're doing things with the weapons that they currently have.
And again, everybody regresses to the mean, and no one thinks that they're going to end up just losing one game all season. Okay, but with that said, yes, so far so good. Everything's going in the right direction, and Dable is pushing the right buttons.
Now, go ahead.
Oh, no, I think it's just, first of all, I think that they'll keep winning as long as they keep staying healthy. You lose Barkley, your season's going to tank. Sorry.
Bite your tongue.
I don't want to wish anything on that, but
I don't need any Andy on here.
We're just talking. Normal situation would be if he stays healthy the whole year in a weak NFC. However, apparently not a weak NFC. He's probably the best division in football right now. But it's a weak NFC, and there's a playoff spot to be had. And if you keep doing what you're doing, I think they have the formula to be in every game. And we all know if you're in every game, you got a chance to win.
Now, pleasant surprise by the Giants, right? 4-1, like we said. What concerns do we see with the Green Bay Packers, right? They're not what we thought we were.
No.
Oh, sir, all of the pundits were saying that they're going to be perfectly fine.
The pundits. You heard it here.
No, perfectly fine.
We talked about it here. Okay? You can RELAX all you want. Okay? But we talked about it. And I said it. The receiving core and his relationship, Aaron Rodgers' relationship and reliance upon Devontae Adams was going to be an issue. Because again, and we saw Devontae play last night, when he can get together with the quarterback, he becomes a crutch. That's what happened. Aaron would throw it to him. He found nobody else. Now he's gone. He can't find anybody else. He's struggling to get his receivers open. For his receivers to have the same communication with him that he built with the other guy for 5 years, 6 years. And again, I don't see it happening in the next 6 weeks.
Yeah. So, and I said this last week, I don't think that they're bad receivers per se. I think that they are studs. I think that they're just extremely young, right? And there is a Grand Canyon-sized rift between what Aaron Rodgers wants them to do and expects them to do and what they're capable of, not athletically right now, but communication-wise, as you said, Coach, and their ability to ad-lib, right, which Aaron Rodgers is the master of.
And Devontae became great at ad-libbing with him.
Correct.
And he knew when he was going to throw it on his outside shoulder, inside, all the little nuances.
I still say relax. I still say,
wow.
Once again, a bad second half. Not good. I think he played a really good team. I think you get a nice helping of the New York Jets at home next week, because we'll speak about them later. Fraud team, in my opinion, still. You have at Washington after that. Come on. The only game we'll see, the test will be at Buffalo the week after. But then you get the Lions right after that. So once again, the schedule will give him the time he needs, I think. These receivers in the second half.
But they still listen. They're going to play Buffalo. They got to play the Cowboys. They got to play Tennessee. Yeah. They got to play the Eagles. They got to play the Rams. Yeah. I know Chicago sucks, but it's still Chicago. It's a division game. It's at Chicago.
No, that's his kid. He takes care of Chicago all the time.
I get you. They still got to play Minnesota. Got to play Minnesota down the road again.
I know.
So again,
and that's why I'm relaxing.
They're one of those.
I think by the time all these games get to, once you get to past the Eagles, he'll have his team where he needs them to be.
Interesting. We'll see what happens right in the next 4 or 5 weeks or so. RELAX,
you know what the beautiful thing is?
Or not.
Every week we get to talk about
panic button
and see how
or not. Let's see what happens.
I'm not panicking. It's not a panic button.
They're still 3-2.
But
let's see what happens. All right, we're going to jump to the 49ers and Panthers. All right, NFL season has its first coaching casualty.
You're gone. You're out of here. Hit the door. See you later, Rule. Nebraska's looking for a coach. Wisconsin's looking for a coach.
He'll be with Auburn.
Auburn's not looking for a coach yet.
They'll be looking for.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Harsin got one foot out the door.
No, his seat is burning up.
So it was interesting, and you heard a lot of people say this throughout the past couple days on talk radio and analysis that the Panthers' home field, it was almost like it was 49ers' home game, that there were more 49ers fans there than there were Panthers fans. Not really a good situation, especially at this juncture of the season, right? They were sputtering. Right, they couldn't find any, footing offensively.
But nobody has against San Francisco this year. The defense is back to a certain level. It's back to a championship caliber defense. A few years ago, they rode that defense to the Super Bowl. It got the New York Jets a brand new head coach. That defense, when it's healthy, is the best or one of the best defenses in the NFL. They have a great front seven. Their front four can put pressure on you. Their back seven can cover. They've got all the pieces. Again, in football, it's about staying healthy. In the NFL, it's about staying healthy. Whenever those guys are healthy on that side of the football, it's going to be a grinded out game. And not many people are going to find success.
Oh, and you said it, right? And we've seen this time and time again over the years, right? What the sport has become. If you can rush the passer with your front four and not have to put pressure, right, and play
Not blitz.
coverage,
Not blitz.
you're in a good spot. And they have 4 bona fide pass rushers up front there. As long as those guys stay healthy, as you said, they're going to be in the conversation come late December and January.
And they're a little bit deeper than 4 because they bring a couple guys off the bench that go in there and spell some downs, play the run,
100%.
different things, and that's what helps them.
Now, let's talk about the Panthers and the firing of Matt Rule for a second here. He was in his 3rd season of a 7-year contract, right? Which is a guaranteed contract, right? Now, for the next 4.5
He's going to fan
seasons,
himself for $834,000
a month. With that,
I'm good. Can I get fired tomorrow for that?
I'm retiring.
I mean, no, I'm not retiring. I'll get fired. If they guarantee me I'm going to get $834,000 a month for that, I'm walking in. I'll literally fire. You're fired. Fired. No problem.
Sometimes these contracts
No
are
problem.
the best.
Phenomenal.
Every now and then you get to see these amazing deals that these guys get when it's just
Now,
you can't make this
It's
up,
ludicrous.
man. You can't make it up.
In relative terms, David Tepper is one of the most affluent owners in the NFL. He's worth $15 billion.
Bro, he can throw some money my way.
$834,000 a month is a drop.
I don't need $834.
But that
I
is
get it.
insane because now this guy's gonna get
I get
another
it,
job.
but failure costs.
No, but he can't. No,
Failure.
but his new contract will be deducted from that.
You think so?
Yeah, it does. Yeah. I read that today.
You looked it up?
Yes, I did.
But,
yes.
but even if he goes into if he gets a college
if it's
job,
a college job, whatever, it'll be
Yeah,
deducted.
if he
from
doesn't want to work, he's going to make the
Right.
full amount. That's fine.
Right.
But there are,
what's the incentive of working?
This-
Oh, listen, buddy. I'm.
sometimes you're passionate. You got to do it. It's in your blood.
But let's go ahead and take a look at his tenure.
Forget my blood. I figure
Blah.
out 40 million. I'm like, we're good.
Okay, but in all seriousness, though, it was interesting how just 3 or 4 months ago they were talking about David Tepper, the ownership group, were talking about like, well, it's going to take 5 to 6 seasons to make sure that you build a championship
But the
culture and this,
problem
that
is-
we're going to
How
ride
many,
with
how
him.
many times do we hear that?
But
that
the
vote of
problem-
confidence, man.
Take a
Vote of
look.
confidence is the death, man. Come
But
on.
take a look at what path they tried to take to win. They tried to win right away with NFL quarterbacks. They took Darnold because they thought Darnold could start. Then they picked up Mayfield. They never drafted anybody. They never tried to prepare anyone. Okay, the Steelers. The Steelers have moved on. They kept Mason, brought Trubisky and knowing to hold. They drafted Pickett to see if Pickett could be the guy. And let me tell you something. The one team that I think has set a standard for drafting quarterbacks is the Arizona Cardinals. Because the Arizona Cardinals drafted a duck in the first round. He didn't pan out. They fired the coach, brought a new coach, and they picked another quarterback.
They triple centered, double centered.
And they said, that's right. And they said, you know what? Heck with this guy. Like we say in Spanish, borrón y cuenta nueva. Let me erase and get a new account going. And they ran with a new quarterback. And I think that is something that the NFL is looking at. Some of the owners and some of the coaches, some of the GMs are taking that kind of stance. If this doesn't work out, we'll draft it again.
The new contracts and the new contract structure for rookies and the draft structure helps with that, right? It allows you to get out from underneath of those quarterbacks that may not work out. Because at best, what are we talking? Like, what are your best odds for a quarterback when you draft them, right? 50-50 at best?
At best. Everybody's a 50.
If this was a proven science, everybody would get their guy, right?
And also, it's in that situation, they drafted a guy at 10. Didn't work out. You got everything fired. And now the number 1 pick is at the moment I thought I like Murray to be the number 1 pick, an obvious pick. If you're given that option, I don't think it's that much of a reach because you're like, I got to take this for sure thing.
You're right.
You're not invested as much. And quarterback is the number 1 position. If
In
you
the NFL today,
find
you're absolutely
someone
right.
you love, whether it be a year, 3 years, 5 years, you got him. But just make a decision. You know,
But I think you have to. But okay. But again, as a coach coming in, I think you need to build your system with your quarterback.
Correct.
I haven't seen too many guys that are building a program or building the team, bring in a veteran quarterback to be the guy. Now, 4 or 5 years into the job, then okay, they've had a certain amount of success or mediocrity, whatever. They haven't been total failures. And then they say, you know what, there's this free agent here.
Yeah.
We can pick him up. He's still 28 years old, 29, et cetera, et cetera.
The thing is, it might work out. It's not working out for the Panthers, obviously.
It's not working out for Indianapolis either.
I know. I was just going to bring up Indianapolis. It kind of worked out a little bit for them before.
Not working out for Denver.
But see, Denver was one that would do that.
Okay.
They would pick up. They would pick up a Peyton Manning, win a couple Super Bowls.
Right.
They would, you pick up some. Just it depends on the team, and there was no win it now with those two quarterbacks for the Panthers. The rest of the team was terrible, and these two quarterbacks are terrible. They just picked up two terrible quarterbacks.
But that was their decision again, and that's what I'm saying. That's why
the Colts are picking up statues that were great years ago. And they're like, "Hey, we give you another shot here. Get your, energy."
Well, but I think that's what they're doing. That's what the Panthers did with their, first Darnold. That didn't pan out. All right, let's get another first round, high draft pick, number 1 draft pick, and that didn't work out. Now he's going to be in a boot for the next couple of weeks, and now they're back to Darnold.
Yeah, but they'll be drafting very high this year, so they'll be looking at quarterback.
Well, let's see what happens there. Now we brought up the Arizona Cardinals. Let's jump right into that game and the antics that were there. Eagles 5-0. Okay, Arizona Cardinals, they're sputtering at 2-3 right now. They're 0-3 at home, which is mind-boggling.
You know what I think they're doing? I think they're flipping the script.
They're going with the early season fade?
I think they're going with the early season suck and then come back second half of the season and run the table.
Think so?
Well, you got to switch it up, right? It didn't work out the other way.
Hasn't worked out the other way.
Well, let's talk about the late game antics there, right? Kyler Murray sliding to get the first down. Turns out it's not the first down, right? So now they got to go with, instead of spiking the ball to stop the clock, they got to hit the timeout. And now they got to go and kick the field goal. Ends up going wide right. Thoughts, Grizz?
I mean, it's just they've been handling these end of the game situations very poorly. You got to know when you slide where you're going as a quarterback. You know the moment you start with that slide. But even then, all this, they still had the chance for the field goal and they missed it. They just could have had, with so much time, a chance to obviously get it very close or even a touchdown to win the game.
Right.
And they were down 14-0 early. I mean, they made a nice comeback. They had been coming back. I really thought I had picked them to beat the Eagles. I thought they covered. But I'm like, I don't get it, man. It should be a better team. I mean, Hopkins is coming back in 2 weeks. Hopefully that'll help out on that prediction that they finished the season strong. But
their defense is now starting to show signs of life again.
I mean, they stopped the Eagles from scoring at the end, which was,
like I said, they're starting to show signs of life again. They started the first couple of weeks. They didn't look very, very, very present. But last year, their defense was a good defense. They did good things. So I don't understand where the drop-off comes in.
I think it's more offensively them trying to figure themselves out without their main weapon, right? Like we've talked about with other teams, right? Murray hasn't had his security blanket in DeAndre Hopkins the past several weeks. He comes back, like you said, after the bye, correct? In week 7, I believe. Maybe things start to change there, but you can kind of see as a young quarterback who is mobile, who doesn't have a security blanket.
But look, against the Chiefs, they gave up 44. Against the Raiders, they won on a miracle. Against the Rams beat them and dominated them. They ended up beating the Panthers. Okay, now they lost. Now they got Seattle again next weekend. So again, that's my thing is that there's no traction for them as anything. The games that they're winning at the end out of luck, not because they're establishing a run or a pass or their defense is giving them turnovers. So that's where they're at, and that's why I'm saying that their defense should be playing at a better clip.
Now, I will say that there is a lot to be said about the Eagles, right? Winning games in several different fashions, right? And you have a contingent, right? I bring up the pundits again who are saying, well, the Eagles haven't put together a full, a solid 4 quarters yet. And I think that's more of a feature of them, right? That they haven't put together a solid 4 quarters yet. And I think that bodes even well for their future as the season wears on. When they start to put together, they're winning these close games, right? They're getting calls in their favor. And once they start putting together a solid 4 quarters, when they start to hit on all cylinders offensively and defensively, they're going to be that much more formidable.
Apart from the Lions game, I think first of all, defensively, they've played well. They dominated the Vikings. They dominated the Commandos. They beat the Jaguars, and they were in control of the whole game against the Jaguars. And now they beat the Cardinals, and again, 17 points. I mean, in the NFL, to hold teams to under 20 points, I think you're doing a good job.
Yeah, you're playing winning football, 100%. Especially the Arizona Cardinals.
Still the only undefeated team winning games. Once again, what we do in this league.
So I mean, for me,
put those wins in your belt.
For people that say they haven't played a complete game, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the complete game they're looking for.
I do agree with Frankie. If that's what they believe, wait till they play the complete game.
I mean, that's the scary thought.
They are going to be top 2.
Well, this week coming up, they got a nice little test coming up this week.
Yeah.
And speaking of that, sorry to cut you off, Grizz. I think Jalen Hurts is going to be judged against how he plays against the Cowboys and what he can do against the Cowboys and that defense, which has shown itself to be a Super Bowl caliber defense. Let's call it what it is, right? More so than any other game he plays this season, and even in the playoffs. Okay, because if he stinks it up against the Cowboys and continues whatever, they make it to the playoffs, he's still going to be judged by a historical divisional foe, right? Which they always are punching each other in the mouth whenever they see each other. They play each other twice during the regular season. Okay, this game right here may shape up to be a deciding factor of who wins the division going forward later on, and a first round bye or a wild card team.
Oh, they just they just manhandled the Rams in this game. The defending champs on the road. A couple years ago when they played in the playoffs, it was the complete opposite. And now this defense and the running game, once again, Pollard. I mean, what a great backup to have. I mean,
jumping into that game.
That is.
Four
straight games they've won with Rush as the backup.
And I'm going to tell you what my issue is with them rushing Dak back and putting Dak in the game. I think when they start putting Dak in the game, it takes away from them.
Are they putting him in this week?
Well, they're trying to. They're really pushing for him to play Saturday or Sunday.
That's not smart.
Well, I mean, again,
it's a 4 straight weeks with this guy.
Whenever he comes back.
Well, they were trying to get him in last week.
I think that it's going to be an issue because I think he takes away from the running game. I think that if you've noticed, they've gotten back to running
ground
Zeke,
and pound,
running Pollard. Zeke looks better because Pollard's carrying the ball more. He throws the ball, spot, boom, 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 off the play action, and they're moving the ball. They're scoring points. The defense is playing lights out. The front four is playing great. Micah Parsons is disgusting. He's all over the place. So, again, the rush to bring Dak back, I'm confused by it. Number one, because of his health. And number two, are you going to take away from the offense? And I know people don't want to hear that. Nobody wants to hear that. Oh, Dak's a great. Dak is a good quarterback in his own right. I think he throws the ball well, but they try to make it too much of the Dak show, and I think it takes away from what their offense is really about.
That's gonna be up to the coaches.
But I'm gonna have to agree with Coach here. I think that the key to this game is the Eagles' running game, because I think that that's the way that they nullify that pass rush that they have. Okay. Also, the Eagles are a little bit banged up with the offensive line. Okay, so again, the way that they nullify the entire situation here is rushing the ball. I think that the Eagles can run it down their throats, run it down the Cowboys' throats if they wanted to, because that is their weakness on the defense. If it turns into a passing game and they want to try to air it out, I think that's where the Eagles falter and that's where they lose this game. On the Dak situation, I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think that there's no rush to bring Dak back. Why are we going to rush him back and then he turns out that his hand is not ready yet.
He can't
right?
throw the ball. He's
not.
the same thing happened with Russell Wilson last year.
I don't think he's coming back to play this week. That would be my guess.
But again, I'm agreeing with Coach because they're gonna fall into that trap where we have Dak back, we can air it out, we can open up the offense, and I think that's what's gonna screw them up.
There's millions of dollars.
I mean, I hope that's right because I think Dallas is subject to fail. That's what they do every year. At some point, I always agree with Stephen A. They will find a way to fail. That's what they do. It's in their DNA. However, I actually think they're going to be smart about it. I don't think, first of all, they're going to rush him back. And I don't think when he gets back, they're going to be like, hey, this is what we're going with right now.
I would like to think that at that level...
Once again, I hope I'm wrong.
I would like to think that at that level, they understand that they found the formula of winning football. However, you have a young...
That's why
you have
the
a
coach
young
and the
offensive...
OC should be able to...
There's millions of dollars involved. Don't forget.
Exactly.
They just paid Dak a passel of money.
Yes, but
so
if they
Dak
keep
has to
games,
be the... Again,
you have a young
but if he plays like Cooper Rush, they'll take it.
Right, but you have a young offensive coordinator who has been shown to be left up to his own devices with a head coach who historically has leaned too much on his past quarterbacks. I think they fall into that trap if Dak comes back too early. I really do think so.
That's why I don't think, why are you going to put him back?
No, and
I agree. Guy hasn't lost a game.
I agree.
You have the luxury. Everybody thought the season was over. I thought the season was over with this guy. Hasn't lost. Why are we taking him out?
Understood.
And you're going to put Dak back in the game against the undefeated Eagles on the road? Doesn't make sense. Just play it out with the guy you have.
Whose defense is pretty good itself.
Whose defense is good itself. But I'm saying
pretty good.
The Cowboys will probably not be blown out of any game because of this defense. They're going to be in every game. So what? You got this kid that's playing. You play him out until Dak gets completely healthy, I think. Yeah, you put him to practice and get him. And, of course, that guy's itching to get back. Of course, he doesn't want to lose his job. He's like, finally our team is rolling, and he's a competitor. But I just think...
But Dak's not in trouble of losing his job. Like what Coach said, too much money involved. But Cooper Rush is a nice insurance policy.
Listen, Jerry Jones, man. Jerry Jones doesn't care about anything. Jerry Jones just wants to win. The guy's literally like, yo, I got to win now, before senses are gone.
Die.
Yeah, but... Even if the guy lives, he might not be able to understand stuff. Who knows? My point is, I think he just wants to win. And he's talking a game. Regardless of who his quarterback is, that guy's on cloud 9 right now. The Cowboys are back. Everything is right with the world. Everybody doubted us.
America's team, baby.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Everybody doubted the team. I mean, it's just, like I said, it's going to be interesting, but... I don't think you will.
Well, we're going to talk about it very soon here, but we'll see what happens if they can keep the momentum going in this NFC East divisional matchup that's coming up this weekend. All right, let's jump to an AFC East or AFC West matchup, okay, from this past weekend. The Raiders and the Chiefs. Raiders jump out to a 17-0 lead, right? It was a 3-possession game, right, at the end of the second half.
We are the Dolphins of the West.
Quarter. And the Chiefs come roaring back. Travis Kelce with 4 touchdowns on the night. And Raiders still had a chance to win. And Grizz, would you like to fill us in on the fireworks and the show at the end there?
It's hilarious because the Chiefs went for 2 because they don't trust their kicker. Because he can make a 59-yarder or 57-yarder, but he can't make regular kicks because it's a backup. They go for 2 to try to make it a 9-point game. They don't. So they give it a 7-point lead. So now you're gifted, instead of having to go for 2 to tie the game, now you only have to tie the game. But no, then the Raiders, great, having Devontae Adams, finally it's working with Carr. You got that touchdown. Now you just need to tie the game with 4 minutes to go. It's too much time. And I like aggression. I like going for 2. I'm that guy. Let's do it. You're on the road. You don't want to go to overtime with the Chiefs. It's not good. However, it's 4 minutes to go. There's no need. Tie the game. Now, when you miss, they only have to run out the clock. They only need first downs. They don't have to make a field goal. They don't have to do nothing. If you tie the game, that puts the onus on them trying to score. It's just mind-boggling to me because you still need a field goal to tie the game, even if it's just weird. Why do you do that? I get it. You want to be that young aggression coach. I can't stand that coach. The guy from the Chargers pisses me off. He got lucky this weekend bailing himself out. I mean, it's just what are you doing? The metrics say to do it, but unfortunately, the metrics say 2 yards to go any time of the game is more than 50%. That's any time of the game, anywhere in the field. I want the metrics on going for 2 under 5 minutes of every game. I'm sure it's a little different. And
against the Chiefs as well, where you may not get that ball back.
Yeah, but the thing is, and then he loves the play. They had a play they love, and it's just a simple, just run up the middle kind of play. That's not the kind of play you love. I always hear that they have this special 2-point. We're only gonna bring it out once a year kind of play. That's the play you need to bring out,
especially against a division opponent.
And I know that Jacobs is having a game, but once again, it's all about the moment. And at that time, they know you're going to do something like that. What are you doing? It's just, I don't know. Coach, you speak on this.
I don't want to.
I know why.
I really don't.
I know this hurts more than just as an analytical point.
And to be honest with you, I looked at the game last night and I was going to take the Raiders plus the 7 because everybody and their mother was jumping all over Kansas City. Kansas City was a popular play. Kansas City. All of a sudden, it's 14-0. I was like, oh, I knew this was going to happen. But then again, I see Mahomes running for his life, and I'm like, God, there's a second half coming. There's a second half coming. And that's going to be a problem. And I kept looking for...
Yeah, if it was a 30-minute game, you guys were...
I kept looking for Kansas live. I was going to take Kansas City live. But bro, they were only giving me plus 5. They were down 17. I'm only getting 5. I was getting plus 5.5. I'm like, bro, you got to give me more than a touchdown.
Psych.
All you people were down by
Psych.
17. So I didn't take it, but yeah, Kansas City comes roaring back.
I mean, that's why
And listen, I'm sorry. McDaniels is not a young coach. He's been in this game for 20-something years. He's been the assistant.
He looks like a young coach.
Yeah, he does. But he's been the assistant for Belichick for 15. He coached Brady.
He never did that with Belichick.
He's run the offense.
Belichick didn't let that happen.
He's done all those things. He has great game experience. For him to be making those decisions at that time, and again, later on, the receivers run into each other running the mesh route.
Oh, I didn't even.
They run mesh route. They run into each other. Instead of running into the defender to pick him, they run into each other and pick each other off.
It's almost like the defenders got out of the way. Oh, we see this. We see this coming.
And not only that.
They push. He gets put. Devontae gets pushed by the defender. Okay, I get it. They didn't call it. Whatever.
And they got.
But you got to run a stronger route. You can't just get pushed 3 yards.
Listen, they were also. We got to talk about how they were gifted that personal.
Oh, the personal foul.
That was
atrocious.
rough.
Let's go ahead now.
What
are we doing?
Let's segue into that conversation. Yeah. Ever since the situation with Tua, all of a sudden now everything is an issue. The sack of Brady. Roughing the quarterback.
Easily one of the worst plays I've ever seen.
The situation with Teddy Bridgewater the other day. He got hit on the elbow. Oh, no. Oh, somebody saw him stumble. Oh, he's got to come out. And then the situation last night. This is atrocious. This is atrocious. That you don't call those plays. You don't do that. They got to play football. Then on top of that, now they want to get mad at Troy Aikman because he said we got to stop wearing dresses. Now all of a sudden, that's, And
this is a player who had to retire because of concussions.
I mean, listen,
which is hilarious.
Football is a rough sport. Football is a man's sport. As much as we want to argue about equality, football is a man's sport. And until we understand that, yes, they're taking chances, that's why they get paid handsomely. They get to the league, the minimum pay is $450,000, $500,000 a year. Half of those guys that are out there, or almost 3/4, have very limited educations. So again, they're never going to make that kind of money in the real world. So this is their opportunity to make a living, to make a good life, and move forward. Do we want to protect them? Yes. The elbows to the head again, the head-to-head collisions. I agree. We need to try to get that out. We don't want those guys to get concussions. I understand that. But quarterback sack is a quarterback sack.
It's a violent play by definition, right? Like, and going off of the whole Brady situation with the Falcons and the Buccaneers at the end of that game, what a game changer, right? And I think there's no other quarterback in the history of this game that gets that call besides that guy. He was literally trying to kick the dude in the private parts and then lobbied for the call and gets the flag afterwards. That's ridiculous. And all you need to know is the post-game press conference where Brady looks at the dude and says, "I'm not the one throwing the flag."
I'm not the one throwing the flag.
That's the one. That's all you need to hear right there. But that is a game. The Arizona or the Atlanta Falcons have fought their way back into a season. Okay, he does. It's a great play, and because there's an extra little swing because he's getting him down, that is a game-changing play. This is gonna look back. People don't realize how much goes into.
But that
every
shows you
game,
how smart
every
he
week.
is. Yeah. That he lobbies and uses that to get the penalty.
Within the rules that are justified in there, he knows how to play them perfectly. It's the NFL.
Then there was
the referees.
Massive overcorrection.
You're a Dolphin fan, a lifelong Dolphin fan. Marino would have played 15 more years if the new rule of them diving at his legs would have been in effect. Okay, because he had to get his knees scoped every year because of that situation. Because people would dive at his legs after he threw the ball.
For the rest of time, as long as grown men hit other grown men, there will be injuries. That unless you play bubble wrap,
no, it becomes flag football.
It is part of the nature and the fabric of this game.
If it's flag football, there's no hitting.
From Little League all the way up to the professionals.
If you tackle a grown man and it's just science. It's just nature. It's people grow bigger, stronger, faster. You're going to have these collisions, and we're making the game safer. Remember, people used to play without a face mask. People played with a leather helmet.
Listen, you're never going to legislate these type of collisions and these plays out of the game completely. From Pee-wee all the way up to professional leagues, you make this conscious decision that every time you get on that field, there is a possibility that you're going to get hurt, and there may be a season-ending injury or career-ending injury. Okay, that is the decision that you consciously make as a parent, as a player, whatever, what have you.
To the interview last night from the player that got called for, he's like, "What do you want me to do? I'm running as fast as I can to do my job, which is to sack the quarterback. I get the ball out.
I do my job.
My momentum is obviously as I'm bringing him to the ground, I'm falling.
I get a sack strip. Yes.
And because the momentum of my weight on top of him, I mean, what do you want me to do? You can't float over people.
Right. And again, to me, that there's a way to call that and a way not to call it. That particular play, and again, it was the Raiders, that was a time not to call that. Because he could not do anything else but land on him. There was nowhere else. It's not like when you hit him and you pick him up.
And you drive into your body. Right.
I understand if there's a spotter for the guy getting hurt, why is there not a spotter that could say and buzz down real quick to the guys, "Hey guys,
that's not a penalty.
I saw that. It's not a penalty.
That's not a penalty.
It's just that. That's your only job, to just look down there and say, hey, I'm looking at the whole thing. I'm looking at a TV real quick instead of that referee going to a little TV to look at it. It's just, I don't understand.
I think that it's a massive overcorrection and overreaction to the events of the past couple of weeks. I do think it evens back out over the course of the season.
It's the time that we live in today.
It might slow down a little bit,
is a massive overreaction.
You will have this come and rear its ugly head in the playoffs. I guarantee that. It will happen in one game. If it wins or loses a game, I don't know, but it will happen, and it will be a talking point. That's for sure.
100%. Now, let's move on to greener pastures here. Let's look ahead to Week 6 in the NFL. Grizz, game of the week. What games stand out to you right off the hit?
It's a light schedule to me, but having said that, the meat on top for me, I mean, I'll just go with obvious. I'm sure Gil will go with the other one. I'm going to go with the Bills and Chiefs. I mean, I think that's just the obvious one. That's the one we've all been waiting for. That's the one we've been waiting for since last January.
It's not the Jaguars and the Colts? No? It's not that one? Sorry.
I mean, sometimes you
get Thursday night matchup between the Commandos and the Bears?
You know,
barn burner.
For every, you know, I don't want to say these kind of words on there as I usually do, but for every bleep that, you get magic. And we're going to get, what a game. I mean... Do I need to spell it out?
I think that game and the Cowboys and the Eagles game, I think those two games are the marquee games of the week. I think we're gonna get some good football.
That's my.
I'm gonna say the rest of the day is a fantasy kind of day. Just sit back, relax, have a good, have a fresh one at home if you're at home. If you're not at a fellow game, but if you're at home and watching, get the red zone on. Don't stay on one game the whole day. It's going to hurt your eyes. Some matchups there that are terrible. Hopefully fantasy-wise for you. And then just relax and get ready for those 2 games because those are by far the marquee ones.
Yeah, definitely those 2 games are the ones that are circled for this coming week. Definitely want to look at the Philadelphia Eagles and the Dallas Cowboys. I want to see what each of them have in store for each other. All right, we talked about it. We touched on it earlier. Can the Philadelphia Eagles put together a full 4 quarters against their division foe? Okay, and can the Dallas Cowboys continue the momentum that they've had, that they've spurred under Cooper Rush? Okay, definitely. And again, like you guys said, the Bills and Chiefs, that's going to be fireworks. That game and that matchup has not disappointed at all in the last 2 seasons, whether it be in the regular season or in the playoffs. I mean, what was it? 6 lead changes in the fourth quarter, 7 lead changes in the fourth quarter in the divisional matchup that they had. Both, Josh Allen on fire, played well enough to win the MVP, in my opinion, in that game. But listen, they gave the dude, was it 40 seconds at the end of the game, and it was enough for them to drive down the field and make it happen. So I expect nothing less from that matchup. Slobber knocker of a game in the NFC East division matchup between the Philadelphia Eagles and the Dallas Cowboys. Gentlemen, I think that does it for our NFL segment this week. Thoughts?
We're good.
One more. I didn't see the records pertaining to this game. Actually makes it a decent game, and I will say your team, the Giants against the Ravens, could be a nice little early game. Let's see if the Giants are real there. Keep the momentum going for you guys. And the other one, record-wise, I just didn't want to bring it up because the Dolphins have very, very sad disappointed me against the Vikings at home. That'll be a matchup that hopefully we have
surprises
Teddy.
you, excites
I
you.
don't even know Teddy or Skyler. I don't.
We'll see if they can bring Tua back after 2 weeks. We'll see what's going on.
We'll be right
Tua.
back
We
with
need Tua, man.
We'll be right back with our analysis of this past week in college football. And we're back to recap this past week's NCAA football action. We got to start with Kansas, TCU. TCU upsetting Kansas 38-31.
Was it an upset?
Was it?
Was it?
No.
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
TCU was favored.
TCU
was supposed to
all
win.
Over. That was Grizz's Cinderella this year, Kansas.
Well, that's why they're Cinderella.
Talk to me, Grizz. Thoughts?
No, I thought they played great. Having their main quarterback got hurt early.
Daniels went down with an injury.
He went down early,
and that put a damper on that.
But every time TCU scored, they came back. They tied them. They played them tough down to the wire. I mean, it was about to happen. They weren't going to go undefeated. It wasn't like, the Kansas Jayhawks are winning the title anytime soon. But having game day for the first time, I thought, moral victory aside, they played well.
Moral victory aside.
I mean, they should have probably lost by more with their quarterback being down.
I think they did a good job. I think Leopold's done a good job there. I really do think that they're moving in the right direction. Obviously, the record speaks for itself. TCU, Sonny Dykes' first year also at TCU, is doing an incredible job with that team. It's good to see that. I feel bad for Gary Patterson, who's the guy who built that program and ended up being horrible last season. But Sonny Dykes has come over and really put together a good offense. And their defense is a little shaky. But I think it's going to be a good deal.
Yeah, I think Patterson was given a raw deal there last year. I think they were a little young. They were kind of reloading, in that respect. But they're kind of back into the groove here, right? I don't think, obviously, defensively, because Patterson was the one that kind of revolutionized that 4-2-5 defense while he was there. Like you said, their defense is still a little shaky, but when you get Sonny Dykes over there running the offense, it definitely makes up for it. Would you say that TCU is the toast of the Big 12 at the moment? With the up and down play of the other teams that are in the Big 12.
I mean, I think you got to throw in the conversation is Oklahoma State is still in there. They're still undefeated, and that's going to be a big game this weekend with Oklahoma State, TCU, and I gotta see who else Oklahoma State is playing. They're playing at.
No, they play each other.
They play TCU.
Yep.
So this is the game right here that's gonna determine the leaderboard going forwards in the Big 12. Texas is still a contender. Texas proved itself the other day that they're still a contender. They dismantled Oklahoma. It's not a typo.
49-0, huh?
It's not a typo. It's not a typo.
Ewers back, right?
Yes.
Yeah, they were, kind of struck by injury there early on in the season. Held their own against Alabama. Kind of had a dip there, trying to figure it out. They're back and healthy, and like you said, maybe they go on a run here.
And Oklahoma now is the one who had their quarterback. Dylan Gabriel was hurt. Got a cheap shot in the Baylor game. Got knocked out of that game. So
Oklahoma, rough first season there. We're at 3-3. It's going to take them a couple years to get back to it. Again, you have a first-year head coach who's been a career defensive coordinator, right? It's going to take a little bit for him to grab his footing there. Again, Big 12 football, I think he's kind of feeling his way through this first season. All right.
He's going to get a rude awakening when he's an SEC coach in the next year or two.
Yeah, that's going to be rough for them.
So.
But I think he may be a little bit more in his wheelhouse there.
It was in the TCU game that he got knocked out. It was a TCU game that Dylan Gabriel got knocked out on a cheap shot to the head after he slid.
Interesting.
So that hurt them going forwards.
Yeah, I think they go on a run here if their quarterback stays healthy. I mean, he's still dealing with a little bit of a shoulder injury. If they keep him upright, I think they're
talking Texas.
Yeah, talking Texas.
And you know what else though? It helped them that their backup came in and played a couple games and also played well because he was the starter last year
for sure.
Card. So again, they've got a couple good quarterbacks that can play. Their running back is outstanding, and their defense can play. Their defense comes right, and they don't melt in the second half. They can dominate games.
Yeah, they can definitely make it happen. Let's go ahead and jump to the Pac-12, Utah, UCLA. UCLA Bruins 42-32 over the Utah Utes. Okay, UCLA 6-0. We talked about them last week, right? And how they've had a bit of a resurgence here in a weak Pac-12. Coach, thoughts?
I mean, again, weak, but there's still a couple of marquee teams that are pretty good. They still got to match up with USC coming around. They just beat a good Utah team. We did talk about that, and we talked about it in the deep dive. UCLA, Chip Kelly, fifth-year quarterback. That offense is gelling. He's putting 40 on everybody. And he's doing it running the football. They're running the ball. They're choosing when to throw. Their defense is sketchy at times, but it's playing Pac-12 football.
Well, we've seen this from a Chip Kelly team, right? Their defense does not have to be dominant. They just have to be good enough, right? Because of the pace that they play on offense, right? They tend to be on the field a lot. They can get a couple stops. They put the offense in a great position, right, to continue rolling downhill against whatever opponent that they see.
And his quarterback is, God willing, he stays healthy. If he does, if they can run out the table, they look solid as a solid contender to make the Final Four.
Well, Chip Kelly and company play Oregon next. They have a bye week this week, so he has 2 weeks to go face his former team. If they win that, and USC can beat Utah next week, their schedules both line up to be undefeated when they meet up. So that would be huge.
No, and the USC game this weekend against Utah is a tough one. Utah is favored.
Yeah, Utah bounced back. They play tough defense,
so we'll see what happens. We'll see how this team, and it's at Utah.
It is.
So this is the biggest test for USC all year.
But a team that's lost twice already, that was highly hyped up,
yes.
We'll see if they can hold it together. This is where the team sometimes start
to
flinching a little bit. You just lost to UCLA.
And
USC needs to prove it.
That's what we talked about last week in NC State against Florida State. We mentioned it that NC State had lost to Clemson.
But
and put them in a position not to win the conference now. So the same thing happens with Utah.
Right.
Utah now feels like
this is their Super Bowl.
Right now they have to win in order to have a chance at the Pac-12 championship.
Oh, of course.
They have to win.
They
That's the only
here.
works out.
If they lose here, but like I said,
They're done.
USC wins this game against Utah. They got Arizona, Cal, and Colorado before
Right.
UCLA.
Right.
So it's there for the taking. Either USC or UCLA could be your Pac-12 representative. Could be in a playoff, and you'll be losing both teams.
And I'll
to the
tell
Big
you what,
Ten.
and I'm going to tell you right
Weird.
now, if from a gambling aspect, I'm not laying the points, but Utah seems to be the play. Utah opened up at 3. Everybody's jumping on USC,
Of course.
and the line has moved to 3.5. So that tells me that the Sharps are taking Utah.
You think
So-
they pull it off?
I mean, to be honest with you, they have everything it takes to pull it off. And the question mark in this game ends up being the USC defense. The USC defense is just not a solid defense. They're really not a good defense. They're going to be. They have the pieces, but they still miss too many tackles, give up too many points. And that's right now, like I said, they're getting 70% of the bets, but yet the money's on Utah.
Yeah, I mean it's interesting, right? Because like, we're talking about Pac-12 teams that we don't necessarily get to see, right, on the East Coast, right? These are late games most of the time, right? They don't get as much pub as the East Coast and the SEC teams. So again, for most of the country, it may be a surprise. Like, hey, what are these? Oh, these guys are doing once you start seeing those late season games. But
And this one's prime time. It's 8:00, so it's a prime time game.
right, so they're definitely poised to put themselves on the map if they can pull it off. All right, let's jump to the ACC and the match between Florida State and NC State this past weekend. What a great game to watch, especially in the second half when NC State quarterback goes out with the shoulder injury. They bring in their fifth-year backup, who's a transfer from Charleston Southern, and it seems like the guy could not pass the ball for the life of him, and all they did was run the ball in the second half. Kicked 3, maybe 4 field goals there.
How many reps do you think that guy got with the first team?
Oh, none at all. But it's just hilarious, right? And I brought this up to our chat, right, over the weekend. Is how is that NC State has an offense where they like to toss it around the yard, and then they bring in their backup was essentially a triple option quarterback when he was at Charleston Southern, and they have no confidence in him throwing the ball. I think he threw one pass.
Would you?
But I'm saying, but if you're that type of offense where you're spread wide open and that's your backup,
But you got to take what you can find. I mean, remember now
100%.
you're taking a guy who's got experience, right? He didn't turn the ball over. He didn't put him in a bad position, right?
No,
So
again,
they were able to win the ball. Why were they able to win the game?
possession, time of possession. They possessed that ball and they played swarming defense.
And at the end, when Florida State could have won the game, what did they do? What did the quarterback from Florida State do? He threw it up,
turned it over.
and turned it over. So again, that shows you what a dumb call. We talked about dumb call with the Raiders. What a dumb call that was. 1st and 10. You still got 3 timeouts or 2 timeouts. I had 2 timeouts, I think, or I was watching the game. And I'm saying, okay, just run the ball. You run the ball, put yourself in better position, and you kick the field goal. If you miss, you miss. If you make it,
You win.
hey, baby, we're in there. Let's go. We just knocked off NC State. Instead, he calls a smash route, hitch on the outside, flag on the... And the corner is playing the flag route or the corner route.
They saw it coming a mile away.
But it's not that. It's just the kid didn't even have possession. When I'm looking at the route, I'm saying, okay, if the kid has position and then gets outplayed at the end, you say, man, bro, the receiver. No, the kid was inside and the corner was outside. And he throws it. I'm like,
Desperation pass.
and for no reason. You've got the game. You've got the game won. Again, it just
For sure. Listen,
Moving right along.
I loved watching the game. Your defensive battle at the end.
It was
there.
back and
It was
forth.
great to see NC State's defense just stymie Florida State's offense. They could not get anything going in that fourth quarter.
And now they're in a bad position for this week because getting their quarterback hurt It puts them in a real bad position. They've got a tough Syracuse team. NC State is playing at Syracuse. Syracuse is playing some of their best ball in 10 years. They're running, they're throwing. They brought in the quarterback coach and the OC from Virginia last year, and they've done a great job with that quarterback. They've got Oronde Gadsden's son is their leading receiver. Okay? And he's having a great season. They play good defense. So, I mean, I have no idea how NC State's gonna be able to win this game.
Let's see if the quarterback gets back. I mean, he was in a sling. I doubt it. Highly doubt it. To me, it looked like a clavicle.
They say it's a day-to-day. They're still keeping him there.
Definitely an AC separation situation there.
I don't know exactly. I mean, I know that you try to hypothesize and give up different hypotheses and different medical breakdowns. I'm gonna wait because again the coach that is day to day. We'll see. I don't know if he was throwing today or it's Tuesday, so we'll have to see where they're at with that. If I'm gonna have to be honest with you, if he is ruled out, that line's gonna go to 4.5, 5.
Interesting. Let's jump to SEC in the marquee matchup that we had this past weekend: Alabama, Texas A&M. Closer game than I think we thought was gonna happen. Alabama beats the Texas A&M Aggies 24-20. Oof!
It was a sweat at the end. What a sweat it was at the end! Incredible sweat.
Listen, Jimbo Fisher has got to be in the hottest of seats in this season.
I'll be honest with you, man. He struggles so much to find a quarterback, which again is hard to believe. But their defense is playing so well. That defense is such a good defense. It really, really is. And after watching him play Miami and watching him play a couple teams, I don't know who I gotta look up who the DC is, but he's doing an amazing job at that place. What a fantastic job that defense is playing ball. And again, the Alabama quarterback's a great athlete. That kid, when they can get him and build the offense around him and what he can do, they're going to be scary. He's going to be scary.
Oh no! Listen, they're rolling downhill as they should. Closer game than expected, but again, what matters at the end is the dub, right? And you know that both of them had this game circled, right? Meaning the coaches, Saban and Jimbo Fisher, and Saban does what he does, right? He used it as billboard material, and they took care of business. Now, does this begin the slide for Texas A&M? Like, do they, essentially get checked out here? Or does Jimbo Fisher rally the troops, and they finish out the season strong? Well, I mean, it's gonna be a tough one. Let's see what happens.
I think they're going to rely on the running game. I think they're going to try to run the ball more with the running back. I think that their schedule is going to line up a little bit. Next couple games, I think they'll be all right. I think they have a bye this week. Mm-hmm. So I think that they'll be able to.
They play South Carolina after.
Okay, so again, and that's South Carolina just had a great upset of Kentucky this weekend.
But they're winnable.
But they're very beatable. Very, very beatable. And the defense coordinator this year is DJ Durkin.
Listen, I personally think if they would have been blown out this week, they would have checked out. Having a game that close with a chance to win against Alabama shows that they still had heart. You got the bye week. They could probably exactly that. But the problem is, it's the SEC, so you're going to get eaten up by other great teams if you're not that good. After South Carolina, you got Ole Miss. They got Florida at home, Auburn. It lightens up the rest of the thing. So it should be an 8-4 team by the end of the year. But you're right. You can't have these 8-4 seasons when these recruiting classes are promising double-digit victories. But once again, you play in a league with Alabama, that's what's going to happen.
100%. All right, let's jump ahead to week 7, right, in the college football season. What games are we eyeing here?
Well, speaking of Alabama, I'm eyeing the Tennessee-Alabama game.
At Tennessee.
That is
huge game.
Probably the biggest game for Tennessee in the 2000s. This is biggest game for them since the T. Martin Championship and the Peyton Manning days.
They've become relevant once again.
They are back. Rocky Top's going to have 110,000 people going nuts. And like I said before, this is one of their biggest rivals. 16 games in a row they've lost to Alabama.
Well, for with all that being said, this is the 1 week where all the sharp action is on Alabama and everybody's taking Tennessee. Everybody loves Tennessee. Tennessee's done a great. The quarterback Herndon Hooker's doing a great job. I think Josh Heupel has done a real good job of turning that program around again to being a successful program. They're winning. They're scoring points. And the defense is playing pretty well as well. The defense is doing a good job. We talked about them again before the season started. We mentioned that they could have a good, solid season. This is their marquee game of the year. And then after that, you have to see what happens.
They play Georgia after that, so it's
back to back.
It's
back to back.
Right now, this is their market game of the year, and I think they pull it off. I think
you're looking at the upset.
Ooh.
Yeah.
You're calling Tennessee?
Yeah, I'm calling Tennessee to win this game.
Oh, I'm definitely laying 7 points now.
Ooh,
I'm going with Bama all the way with that.
Grizz with the
Fade
call.
me all you want, but I say Tennessee wins by a field goal.
Grizz with the call.
Wow. I'm going to tell you why I disagree. I don't think Tennessee's ready for this moment. I think it takes you at least a year of these big games at big times for you to get ready for the limelight. You got to have 1 or 2 years of being in these games and competing and playing and being close to winning before you can knock off Big Daddy.
Got you.
You get me? And I think I do believe that Alabama's tested every week. Alabama gets everybody's best every week. And I do think that the defense is going to make a big difference. I mean, I don't know if you watched the game last week with Alabama.
Nope.
Let me tell you, man.
Highlights.
They are so impressive with what they do schematically.
Of course. I've seen them play enough that I know what that defense brings every week.
But it's just the way that they rush and they bring and they're only bringing 5. They don't bring 7. They're bringing 5. When they bring 7, it's all over. But it's so impressive with the job that they do. And that's why I just don't. I really believe that's why Alabama wins this weekend.
I know. I'm having feelings of that stadium going absolutely insane. Just that level of we shouldn't be there yet. You're right. Having said that, they're due. 16 games in a row is a lot of games to beat a team. You're playing them at their best. I just think if the quarterback comes back healthy, even with a healthy Heisman winning quarterback, I still think they win by 3. If the quarterback's not playing, I can see double digits. Tennessee.
Oh wow, you want to lay double? I'll take double digits.
I'm not a betting man. Sir.
I will take double digits.
I am a man that speaks out.
If I got that
and
second string quarterback and that defense, I will take double digits.
I will just go with my gut.
You heard it here first from the Grizz.
I got a lot
Tennessee
more fun coming.
taking down Alabama by a field goal.
I think this is a upset weekend type of weekend in the college football ranks. There's going to be plenty of upsets.
So the Penn State Michigan game, you got Penn State beating Michigan?
I do.
At the big house?
I do.
Oh wow. Oh wowzers.
Is it? Are you calling 2 upsets?
Oh
I
wow.
got 3 in the bowl.
What's the third one? You're calling a SEC upset. You're calling a Big Ten upset. What's the third one?
Well, since Utah is favored, that's technically upset. I got USC winning that game.
He's got upsets.
I mean that one. I mean again, they're higher ranks. I mean that could happen. Conferences. So I'm not. But I don't. I laid 7. I laid 7 with Michigan. I took the Wolverines at home. I think that game is going to be right there, and I think the Michigan defense is going to make a big difference in that game as well. I don't think the Penn State defense, again, I think they're going to try to blitz. I think Manny's going to try to blitz, and I think that the quarterback is going to be able to do a good job for Michigan, and they're playing at Michigan.
Correct.
If they were playing at Penn State, then I would be a little bit more
I think at Michigan,
hesitant.
because it's a noon game, is why I think the upset will happen. If they played it at night, that rowdy stadium too. If it was at Penn State, I would hesitate. I like Michigan. I have my numbers tell me Michigan by 10, 9.5, 10.
Interesting. So I think we can all agree that Clemson takes care of business against Florida State this weekend, right? In the ACC marquee matchup here.
One would think. I think so. They will, but pesky as Florida State has been the last couple games, They got a shot. It is at home. I still think they lose, but I would say it'll be one of those tight games. Probably a touchdown.
Clemson favored by 3.5 there.
Well, it's moved.
I think they
it's
cover.
moved. It started by 5. It's moved towards Florida State.
I think they cover because they'll win by a touchdown, but that touchdown feels like it'll be like a late game touchdown, or it'll just be close.
Sounded like we're setting up for some fireworks here this weekend, gentlemen.
Again,
There's 6 games of top 25 action. This is a fun weekend. I mean,
whenever you see 70, 80% of the people taking a team and the line moving against them, you got to start concerning yourself with that team being able to cover, much less win the game. Again, Florida State, I hesitate because they make stupid mistakes. Now, and their defense is somewhat, they have, that's what drives me crazy with this defense. They show glimmers of dominance. They look like they can play. Then all of a sudden, you get games where they give up 35, 40 points. It makes no sense. So, again, I hesitate in this game. I have no action on it. I don't like it. If I were to I would take the points probably with Florida State just because of the movement. I don't like 3.5. I like 4.5, 5 better. But I think that it's going to be a tough match.
Well, we're going to find out what disgustingness happens this weekend in next segment when we close out the show with the deep dive. As always, we're back to close out the show with our patented deep dive. Coach, take it away.
Let me tell you, first of all, thank God, without him, I could never get weekends like this. This past weekend, we went 7-1 on the pod.
Hey, baby.
We hit 5.
Back on the horse.
We hit Missouri plus 11. Miami of Ohio got the outright win. We covered with James Madison minus 10.5, baby.
Still disgusting.
Who, by the way, is ranked officially in the AP poll.
And they're undefeated. We got UCLA plus 4.5. We picked up the Stanford plus 7. And then we lost Oklahoma. And 5-1 there. And then in the NFL, Seattle lost. But we did hit the Pittsburgh Buffalo under 47. And we got the Cleveland Browns plus 3, baby.
Goo!
The Cleveland Browns plus 3. This week, we're going to take a couple of plays that are chalk. But we're going to take some underdogs as well. Again, you got to take the uglies. If you want to win, you got to take the uglies. You got to take the teams that people don't want to put money on. Sometimes you got to take the favorite that people don't want to put money on. And this week, there's a team in Michigan that people are gravitating and taking the points with Penn State. So we're laying the 7 with Michigan. We're going to take Michigan in the big house. We're going out to the east side of the country, beautiful side. We're going to take UConn plus 9.5. We're taking the Huskies plus 9.5.
What?
Yes, sir.
Against?
Yes, sir. If I'm not mistaken, they'll be playing the mighty Redbirds of Miami of Ohio. I do believe. I do believe. Yes, they are. No, they're not. They're not playing the Miami of Ohio.
There you go. This is how disgusting this is.
Ball State.
Ball State. I'm sorry. Ball State.
Yeah.
I knew they were playing a MAC team. Ball State. Ball State laying 9.5. We took the 9.5. Sometimes you got to take the uglies, Poppy. Sometimes you got to take the uglies. We're going to take Western Kentucky minus 7.5 against Middle Tennessee State. We think that Middle Tennessee will not make it there. We're got 2 more uglies for you. It's a beautiful thing here. Stanford plus 17 against the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. After that big game against the BYU Cougars, we think that Stanford can come in. We think 17 points is just too many points.
Holy crap.
We really think that Stanford the Cardinal can hang in there and cover 17.
You know, I like that.
And last but not least, we are going into the swampland. We're going into Gatorville. And we're going to take, me and my family, we're going to take LSU plus 2.5 against them Florida Gators. Because we think that Mr. Kelly can win that one.
Wow. We're all over the place this week.
Yes, sir, we are. Yes, sir, we are. And I've got the NFL plays. I'll post them up on Twitter. I'm leaning towards a couple of uglies as well in the NFL, but I'll give you guys those on Twitter.
Grizz is trying not to gag over here.
mean, it's the deepest of the dives so far this year. I'm searching the bottoms of these reefs for these picks. I'm looking.
Sir, I told you early on.
I like it.
Early on, we were going. We were out of our.
This is why we have our esteemed coach.
Telling you, we were out of our.
He handles all the gritty, grungy stuff.
Taking those favorites.
That's what he does. I, on the other hand, I just give you the simple. If you got a couple bucks, just something just to play around with, just to, you know what? Hey, let's have a fun day. Probably not gonna hit, but if you want to get crazy, and let's get crazy. I already told you. Facts. Tennessee money line. Got them. Just take them outright. They're gonna beat Alabama.
Wow.
That's not even. That's already been written in stone.
There's legislation against that, right?
I'm not gonna put the Penn State bet. I think they'll beat Michigan, but I'm not putting it part of the parlay. That's just if you want to do that on your own course, you do that. I got Kansas covering. I think they could beat Oklahoma, but let's just put them to cover. It's 9, a little bit too much. I think Oklahoma, they're done. They're gone. It's over. And then I like USC at night. I like them. I like the Trojans back. I want the undefeated game against UCLA. I'm a fan. Sometimes it's not even you bet with your heart. You just bet because you got to see these fun games openly. So those are my parlay of the week, man.
The Grizz parlay was close last week.
Put 30.
But didn't make it. BYU, the Cougars didn't come through.
I'm usually a 2 out of 3 kind of guy. You know what I'm saying? So out of the 3 that I get, you individually pick those 3. You'll win 2 out of 3, make your money back. But if you want to go big, you put that parlay, especially at Tennessee. Facts.
Wow. Yeah, with that being said, I might have to add Alabama later on if the line stays at 7.
And also, if you fade me, you might be rich. Who knows?
Wow. Just because so many people are taking Tennessee to cover the 7.
This is like a whirlwind. Can't believe this. Uglies across the board. I love it, though.
That's how it is.
Deepest of dives. Grizz's patented parlay of the week. Let's see if it comes through this week. He said it himself. He's a 2 out of 3 guy, but let's see if it holds. That Tennessee one, that's going to be the biggest barrier there for you in that parlay.
Easiest one.
Oh, wow. Confidence. I like it, though. I like the confidence.
If I rank what I think is the easiest one, it's that one. Then I think the Kansas one, and I think USC will give me the struggle.
People have gone broke from betting against Belichick and Saban. Those 2 guys.
I'm only telling you guys put $30. I'm telling you put your life savings on the line. That's up to you. If you want to be rich, put your life savings because that'll happen. But what can I say?
Well, there you go. On that note, I think that does it for us this week on this Disgusting This Path. All right. I'd be remiss to not mention our sponsor. Esteemed sponsor. General Carnitas Gourmet Meats. All right. Best time to buy for us during football season for all your tailgating needs. Okay. The primest, most succulent selection of meats across the board.
Grass-fed.
Free all range. Natural. Free range. Love it. So good. Gentlemen, I think we're done here. Have a good week. 2 coaches, 1 Grizz. Out.